This is City of Nine Gates. This is a story from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4. So before we jump into the story, I wanted to talk about epistemology. Epistemology is like theory of knowledge. So we have 4 different kinds of ways in which we understand knowledge to be. Sometimes it's myth and superstition that exists in modern cultures also, including modern day America. Like child marriage is still very much prevalent in Florida, for example. A lot of 11 and 13-year-old girls get married in Florida. So that still exists. Then logic and reason. So you can logically argue for or against something. Third is empiricism, empirically, numerically calculated. But then sometimes repeatability becomes a challenge. And fourth one is transcendence. So transcendental knowledge means something that is perceived through a higher dimension rather than through scientific knowledge like empiricism. And in the modern times, Greek philosopher Plato used this. Plato was the disciple of Socrates. So the whole Western thought today is coming from the Socrates-Plato parampara. And the whole Eastern thoughts is coming from the sages and parampara of Lord Krishna, like that. Right? Initially, Lord Krishna had the parampara. He gave the knowledge to Brahma, which became Brahma Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya, the Sampradaya that I am in. Then he gave the knowledge to Shiva, that becomes Rudra Sampradaya. He gave knowledge to Lakshmi Devi, that became the Sri Sampradaya. Most of South Indian temples are Sri Sampradaya, like Tirupati, Sri Rangam. Even in average temple that you go in Andhra, the Pujari will be there from Sri Sampradaya, for example. And then you have Kumara Sampradaya, which is mostly restricted to the Himalayan region. They don't do much of preaching and they don't really teach much. Only the Brahma Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya, in which we come, because of Swami Prabhupada, we teach to everyone. So these are instructions for self-realization. There is a path of hearing. Shravanam, everything is coming through Shravanam or hearing. And then self-realization was first coined by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is Srila Prabhupada's guru's guru. He was from Jagannath Puri, near the Jagannath Puri temple. He was the president of that temple. And he had 10 kids. And he would track his time by every 10 minutes. 10-minute slot, he would allocate to a task. And after that, he would stop the task and go on to the next task. So he was like super micromanaging time. So that way he managed 10 kids as well as being the president of Jagannath Puri temple. And he wrote 100 books in his lifetime. So that is the greatness of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur's grand disciple, Swami Prabhupada, came to America and established ISKCON. So this story is when Lord Shiva, he gives this knowledge to the 10 prachetas. 10 prachetas are the kids of children of a king known as Prachina Barishat. So while Shiva is instructing these 10 prachetas, the futility of material life and why we need to renounce the world and surrender to Krishna. And if you see Shiva is like fully renounced. He doesn't even have a home. We all have 4-bedroom homes or 3-bedroom homes. But Shiva doesn't even have a home. He lives in a forest. And his wife never complains, Bhavani, Durga Devi or Parvati, right? Wherever the husband keeps her, she stays there. So they don't have a home, they don't have washing machine or refrigerator or anything like that. Because he's in a renounced mode. Shiva is is called Vaishvananam Yatha Shambho, means he is the greatest Vaishnava in the entire universe. So we have to learn from Shiva on how to serve Lord Vishnu or Krishna. So here, Narada Muni, while Shiva is teaching the prachetas in the forest, Narada Muni happens to come to King Prachani Barishat's capital, and in his palace he is instructing. By the way, did you know that Narada Muni and Shiva are brothers? Both have a common father, Brahma.
Did not know.
Yeah, Brahma. So Brahma has Shiva as one of his son, Narada as one of his son. Then the 4 Kumaras, Sanat Kumara, Sananda Kumara, Sanaka Kumara, ityadi. Right? So the 4 Kumaras, Brahma says, why don't you get married? They say, no way. Then he asks Narada Muni, why don't you get married? No way. Then he has one more son, Daksha, and then from Daksha, the lineage starts like that. So our universe starts with Brahma. And then, So Brahma's one of the son is Shiva. From there, the Rudra Sampradaya comes. And from his son Narada, the Brahma, Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. That comes from the Brahma gives the knowledge. Krishna gives to Brahma, Brahma gives to Narada, Narada gives to his disciple Madhava Muni. In this way, it comes ultimately to Madhvacharya. Then it comes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal. And then it comes to Swami Prabhupada. And then it comes to me. And then now it's coming to you. So this is called the Parampara. So Narada Muni is giving this instruction to King Pracheni Barisat. So he talks about the story of Puranjana. So once upon a time, there was this king called Puranjana, who was a very brave king. So one day, a beautiful girl comes into his kingdom with a snake, five-headed snake on top of her. And then he gets attracted to her. He proposes to her. They get married. There's a little bit of going back and forth, but eventually they get married. They move into the city. So this is the Vedic period. You see Gandhari, where Gandhar Desh, Gandhari comes from there. Then you have the Kuru Vamsha, there is Uttara Kuru, then there is Kaikeyi. So Kaikeyi comes from this Kekeya country. Then there is Videha Raja, Kosala Raja. So this is where Janaka Maharaj was there, and then his daughter Sita Devi gets married to Lord Ram. Then you have Pundra Vanga, Kalinga. Before Kalinga is, below Kalinga is Andhra. It somehow got truncated when I took this picture. And then there is Vidarbha. So this king, Panchala, king of Panchala, marries Puranjana. And then there is a connection to this Vidarbha in his next life. And we'll come to that. So here are some women, traditional Vedic women, dressed in a certain way. But the whole thing is women are very attractive and men fall for them. And when men fall for them, it is like a trap of the material world. That's how Srimad Bhagavatam says that women are, a gateway for material continuity for men. But men are a liberatory factor for women. So if a woman thinks of a man while dying, they become a man in their next life. And we'll come to that shortly. So this lady is coming, Puranjani, with these five-headed snake. So the five-headed snake is basically the five senses: sense of sight, taste, smell, touch, etc. And so King Puranjana proposes to her and gets married. After some time, he goes hunting. Kings do hunting. So he's going and hunting boars and this and that. He becomes very tired at the end of the hunting. He doesn't tell his wife that he's going hunting. So then he comes back along with his entourage into the palace. Then he asks everybody, "Where is my wife? Where is my wife?" And the maids say that she's very mad at you. So just like Kaikeyi in the Treta Yuga, when she gets very mad, she protests against Maharaj Dasharath and says that my son Bharat has to be king. In the same way, she's very mad, lying on the floor and creating a scene. So this is what Narada Muni is reciting to King Pracheni Barisat. So all of these people have this U-shaped tilak. These two legs are representing the legs of the Lord. And you put a tilak on your forehead, you are marking the body as a temple of God, like that. So here are sages discussing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the queen is very, very mad. Then Puranjana pacifies her. First he touches her feet, massages the feet. Then he embraces her, pacifies her with nice words. And then she says, "Okay, now I'll get ready." So she goes, takes bath, she gets decorated, and then they meet in the palace, in the bedroom, and obviously they have sex. And in this way, the king forgets his kingly duties. Continuously he is enamored, means totally attracted by his wife, and days and nights and months and years keep on passing by, right? So this is the attraction of a woman to a man. So the purpose of marriage is to produce good kids who are capable of self-realization and who are capable of liberation. But if kids are procreated in the wrong sense, like, two people meet in a bar, they go have sex, they may produce some Rakshasa, right? Because they are not inviting the right type of soul to come into their body. So the Vedic system has something known as Garbhadana Samskara, where the right type of soul is invited into the body, which involves chanting mantras, taking bath, of course, performing pujas, yajnas, chanting mantras. And then when they have sex, the good souls are supposed to have entered the womb at that point. Um, so in this case, the king is like, so that is the purpose of marriage. The purpose of marriage is to produce God conscious kids who can be liberated. You invite a soul into your body, and then you produce that child, you train them, and then you send them back to the spiritual world, um, from the material world. Because a lot of souls are handling or hanging around in the material world. Not only we get liberated, but we liberate our kith and kin also. That is the general science of Vedic culture. So in this case, King Puranjana, although is very learned in Vedas, he is wasting his time just having sex. So, and in this way, he produced 1100 sons and 100 daughters. So you may be surprised, how can anybody produce so many? Well, in the previous ages, in Satyuga, people live 100,000 years. Dwapar Yuga, no, Treta Yuga, people live 100,000 divided by 10, which is 10,000 years. In Dwapar Yuga, 10,000 divided by 10, 1,000 years. And in Kali Yuga, 1,000 divided by 10, which is 100 years. But most people don't make it 100 years, right? Either COVID comes and gets you, or you eat, bad junk food, or drink refrigerated water. And people typically conk out at around 70. But in this case, he had a huge family, 1100 boys, 100 girls, and he had many, many grandkids, and they were all spending his money and plundering his kingdom basically. So here is a beautiful picture of a South Indian temple with various devatas. So then what happens in this way? A lot of time passes, right? So about, he's into his last year of life. So then what happens? Chanda Vega. Vega means speed. Chanda means something which is fierce. So fierce speed comes. Again, Narada Muni is explaining this story to Prachini Barishat. This is in the fourth skanda, fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Chandavega comes with a lot of Gandharvas and Gandharvis. So there is like we have Bhuloka, how that is Bhuvarloka, then Swargaloka. So Swargaloka is where all the devatas live, and Bhuloka is where all humans live. Bhuvarloka, and there are multiple gradations there. There you have Yaksha, Kinnara, Kimpurusha, like various kinds, and Gandharvas, various kinds of intermediate beings. They are neither devatas nor humans, somewhere in the middle. So Chandavega comes with 720 of those Gandharvas, representing 360 days and 360 nights. 360 plus 360 is 720. So here are Gandharvas, they are angels in the Christian tradition. They have wings and they are playing music. They are in that intermediate Antaraksha Mandala. We are in Bhumandala. So this is what it is, right? You see, we are in Bhuloka. After that, Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. And the lower planetary systems are Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. So the soul is constantly going up and down and up and down and up and down in this 14 planetary system. It's almost like if you go to Six Flags, you have a big Ferris wheel. In a Ferris wheel, you give like $50 to the Six Flags guys, then you get on. So you keep going up and down and up and down and up and down continuously. So same way the soul is going up to these higher planetary systems and sometimes coming to lower planetary systems. Like recently, one of our relative died, right? He was only 50 years old and he had COVID. So after death, what happens? First, souls go to hell for whatever negative things that they did. They are punished a little while. And then based on their positive karma, then they attain to one of these planetary systems, right? So most people want to go to Swargaloka, Swarloka as it's called. It's a place of enjoyment. So people enjoy for a long, long time. And once their enjoyment finishes, they are kicked down. So we have all been in Swargaloka at some point. That's why we have these very nice notions of, how beauty should look like, how we all aspire to live in very beautiful cities and beautiful houses. The tendency comes from our past life in Swargaloka. And again, if we do good enough charity in this lifetime, we may go. But then Swargaloka is not spiritual world. So Krishna says, Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartana Arjuna Mam Upete tu Kaunteya Punar Janmana Vidyate. Brahma Bhuvana Loka. Satyaloka is where Brahma lives. Tapaloka is where sages live. Like that, right? So Brahma Bhuvana Loka. Even if you go to Satyaloka, you have to come down. But he says, Mam Upete tu Kaunteya. If you take shelter of me, Punar Janmana Vidyate. You will never get Punar Janma again. So each one of us has been living for millions and trillions of lifetimes. We never die. Even if somebody dies, you should not cry actually. Why? Because they'll get a new body. That's all they're doing. They're exchanging their bodies. Right? When the body becomes old and useless, people die. Like I've seen some people die. Their body becomes practically useless by the time of their death. Right? My father passed away, my father-in-law passed away, and I've seen the body is no longer supporting the soul. So what is the soul leaves? Then it goes into the next body. Right? So, but if you don't want to take birth again, then you have to Mam Upekyato Kaunteya. Krishna says you have to take shelter of me. Me means Lord Krishna, not Ganesha, not Durga, not this or that god. So what happens? So as Chandabhega is attacking, there is a story of Jara that is mentioned. So Jara means old age or Kalakanya. She goes to Narada and says, why don't you marry me? Narada says, sorry, I'm a brahmachari, Janma brahmachari, and therefore you can marry my elder brother Prajwara, fever. So at the point of death, it is said that the body temporarily rises to 107 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the soul leaves the body, unable to tolerate the heat. Just like if you put a forest fire, the snakes cannot live in tree hollows anymore. They just escape. So he says, no, I cannot marry, but you can marry. No, actually, he says, yeah, I cannot marry, but you can marry our boss, King of Yavanas. King of Yavanas says, sorry, I cannot marry, but my elder brother Prajwara can marry you. So Prajwara says, okay, marriage or no marriage, you just hang around with me. We'll all go and trouble various people. So that's why you have Jara, old age, troubling us. And of course, the Prajwara, which is 107 degrees Fahrenheit, that happens at the time of death. And after that, Mrityu happens, which is the department of Yavana king known as Yamaraja, Lord of Death. So this little story is recited on what the position of Jara is. Now, Jara enters the city of 9 gates. They plunder the kingdom. Kingdoms are supposed to look very beautiful like this. There's a picture from Myanmar, Burma. So I gave one more class around how Burma, Thailand, Vietnam, Bali, all these are Hindu kingdoms in the past. And they have even better temples than India. The world's largest Vishnu temple is in Cambodia. So it is called the Khmer people. So Kamboj Raja from South India goes to Cambodia back then, and he established the Khmer people. And Khmer people continue there till day. And even now they are doing a lot of classic Hindu occurrences and observances like that. So then Jara attacks all the population in this kingdom and pretty much kills everybody. So this is one other picture of how a kingdom that is attacked during the time of war. So now here is the essence of this story, right? For each organ, we have one type of devata, adhisthana devata, who's running the show. So if you have right ear pain, which means that adhisthana devata is not happy with whatever you are doing, right? So we have Pitru, right ear, Devahu, left ear, Khadyota, right eye, and Ahavirmukhi, left eye. Right eye is supposed to be stronger than the left eye, according to Shastra. Then Nalini and Nalini, so left nostril and right nostril. Then Mukhya, mouth. Praseskara, hands. Lubdaka, anus, from where stool comes out. And Asuri, reproductive organ for, producing your offspring, like that. So there is an Adhisthana Devata for each one of them. So these are the 9 gates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the hands are considered 1, but basically these are the 9, right? Anything which has a hole is called a gate, right? So let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, nose 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So here is the picture of San Francisco Bay Bridge, sent by one of my LinkedIn contacts 2 days ago. So he said, you don't have to go to Mars, you come to San Francisco. So this is how karma attacks us, right? We may think that we are very powerful, inventing electronic chips and computers, and Elon Musk inventing or whatever, creating the electric car, Tesla. But ultimately, when nature takes over, it just takes over. So the destruction must have been like this. You can imagine how the city of 9 gates was destroyed. So city of 9 gates is a figurative city, as you can see, right? Because our body is the city of 9 gates. Navarandra Pura. Like my grandfather used to tell this story when I was very young. I used to go to Eluru in Andhra, and he used to tell me the story of Navarandrapura. And now I see the same story in Srimad Bhagavatam. So here is a city. So all the gates are being broken now. There are some beautiful temples in Bali. But as you can see, due to passage of time, everything is getting destroyed. We will also get destroyed as human beings. So at the end of this tale, Narada Muni explains the philosophy behind it. So instructing King Prachena Bharhi Sat on the truths of life. Those who live without knowledge live the lives of animals. So by that definition, 99% of this planet is animalistic because they don't have knowledge of all these things. They think their life is just meant for eating, drinking, and being merry. So we have to come to the human platform. First step is become human. Then you can get elevated to Devata or get liberated, and all those higher things will come. So the living entities go from body to body according to their own past activities, karma. But we are not alone. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, does not abandon us and is present in our heart as Paramatma. So Upadrushta Anumantacha Bhartha Bhokta Maheshwaram. Paramatmeti Chapyukto Deheshi Barashar Sabha. This is one of the verses in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It says Upadrushta Anumanta. Upadrushta means overseeing. So the Lord is overseeing our activities 24/7. And Anumanta means he gives permission to do certain things. But once you do the certain thing, your karma is distinctly yours. So you cannot blame God that, God, you made me smoke cigarette. No. He is allowing you to smoke cigarette, knowing very well that it is bad for you. And he even gives you subtle hints, don't do it. But if you still insist on smoking a cigarette or killing somebody or raping somebody, the karma is yours. It cannot be taken by God, right? He's neutral factor. He just allows you based on your desire. We all have this free will. So we desire to do certain things and he facilitates that. That's all. So when one takes shelter of the material intelligence, pramada, which means madness, he identifies himself with material body, like we are all doing. We think that I am so and so, I am Suresh, I am Mukesh, I am John, I am Paddy, like that. And then enjoys and suffers a life of sense gratification. So everything is our senses. So tongue wants to eat some Kentucky fried chicken or drink some vodka, but we have to refrain from it. When you refrain from it, then karma is not attacking you, right? But then somebody may say, what will I eat? Yeah, you cook nice vegetarian food, give it as bhoga to the Lord and eat prasadam. Then you don't have karma. It is karma-free diet. So the senses are considered the girlfriends with whom you enjoy or suffer. So our senses are giving us enjoyment, but they also give us suffering. And then they give us karma. So better ignore the senses. That is the injunction of the Shastra, ignore. So everything seems wonderful, but when old age in the form of Kalakanya or Jara, you remember we talked about Kalakanya here, the old age coming. So when the old age comes, then death will come. And then the life doesn't seem so wonderful anymore. So you talk to somebody who is old and like have met many people like 1 month or 2 weeks or 1 week before they died. And they felt very miserable actually. Bodies aching, paining. They're getting bad dreams because all the Yamadutas are coming and bothering them, right? So it doesn't need to happen to us. We have to take shelter of the Lord so you can counteract all those negative things. So then death comes, and Puranjana, be the living soul. So Puranjana means, Pura means city, Jana means person. So person in the city, the living soul, has to take another body and another body until a pure devotee comes to wake us up. Right? So what does the pure devotee say? जीव जागो गोरा चंद बोले कोठा निद्र जाओ माया पिसाची रखोले. जीव जागो, जागो means wake up. Huh? Gorachanda Bore. Gorachanda means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the incarnation of Krishna. Kota Nidra. Nidra means sleep. Why are you sleeping, dear? And where are you sleeping? Pisachire Kole. You're sleeping in the lap of a witch, Pisachi. Why are you sleeping in this material condition? Wake up, wake up. So that's why we do all these classes, to wake up people, to take up to something higher. Of course, not many people are interested. Congratulations, you are interested. But not many people are interested in this world. They would rather, play golf or watch a football game than listen to this transcendental knowledge. So here is a picture by William Blake. All these little bodies are getting circulated and recycled like that. So recycling happens, male to female, female to male, animal to human, human to animal. And here's a picture. Remember I said when somebody dies, they first go to hellish condition. Based, like if they ate a lot of meat, then the ruru animals will bite on their suffering body. So the soul is giving a body suited for suffering. And then, of course, hellish condition is not permanent. It is there only for a short duration. After that, the soul is placed into the next body. And then why and how? Because of our desires. Whatever we decide, based on that, suppose if you decide to live in a very big home, and if your karma permits, then you are put in a body of a rich person's wife, and then the baby comes out, and then now you're rich, born with a silver spoon. So here you had to struggle for 20 years to pay for a 5-bedroom home. And there, on day one, you are in a 7-bedroom home, right? So based on your desires, and if your karma permits, you are put into the next body. But the problem is, you still have to take birth and go through all the pains and pleasures. So best thing is to get out of this cycle of birth and death. So here is Puranjana, who became Vaidarbhi. So we'll talk about that. So Puranjana becomes a princess in his next life. Why? Because he was thinking at the time of death about his beautiful wife. He was thinking, oh, my wife is so beautiful. She was always so nice to me. She cooked so nicely for me. Whenever I was sad, she enlivened me. And even when I yelled at her, she was always polite and kind. What will happen once I die? I'm about to leave my body. Who will take care of her? So in this way, thinking, he became a woman. And there's one more story in the Srimad Bhagavatam when Bharat Maharaj, on whose name is Bharat Desha, India, at the time of death, he meditates on a deer, right? He goes to forest, leaving his wife and kids to take sannyas. And while living in the forest, he sees one day that when there was a lion roaring, a fully pregnant deer, mother deer, suddenly, due to the stress, pushes out the baby, and the baby falls in the stream of water. So Bharat Maharaj thinks, oh, poor thing, she will die if I don't protect her. So he dives into that stream and rescues that baby deer and starts nourishing it, and gradually becomes attached to the deer. So instead of getting attached to his wife and kids, he becomes attached to a deer, and thinking about the deer, next life he becomes a deer. So Bhagavad Gita says that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejate antakalevaram, means whatever uh, we thoughts we have at the time of death, we'll get that kind of body. So if you think of a beautiful woman, we may become a beautiful woman. If you think of your pet cat or dog, you may become a cat or dog in your next life. Like my sister has dogs, and I keep telling her, you are getting too attached to your dogs. At the time of death, you shouldn't be thinking about them like that. And If you think of devatas, like some people like their devatas, right? So they'll go to Devaloka or Swargaloka. And if some people, they think about their family members at the time of death, so they will all go to Pitraloka. This happened in my own family. My wife's father passed away. Within 11 days, father's brother passed away. And in 11 days, father's sister passed away. Do you remember that, Raj?
Yeah, very much, Vagar.
Yeah. So why? Because they're all attached to each other.
Right.
So they will all be having a party in Pitraloka. They will
Yeah.
all meet there. But they
Yeah.
are not going to get liberated. That's the problem. So whatever we think at the time of death, it will have its consequences. So life is a preparation, death is an examination. So you have to prepare well for that exam. Otherwise, we'll take birth again. If somebody is attached to their girlfriend and the time of death, they are like, oh, Lucy, Lucy, he conks out, he becomes a girl in his next life. And he may not get the name Lucy, he may get the name Mary or something like that. Right? So this is very clearly said in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Whatever yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tejate anta kalevaram, anta. Last moment, whatever your thoughts are, is the science of consciousness. Of course, you'll go temporarily to suffer in hell for a few moments, and then you will go into that new body that is waiting for you. Right? So, this is why we have to be very careful. Sexual attraction is the root of all evil. So that's why Buddha ran away from home. He had a beautiful wife. He ran away. So many people who come to this conclusion run away. Of course, it's not necessary to run away. And in Kali Yuga, where will you run away? There are no more forests left, right? So wherever you are, sthaner sthitigata means wherever in your sthana you stay and you chant the holy name of Lord and you beg for his protection. Otherwise, it's not possible in this current age. If you're able to, some people do it. Some people take brahmacharya, some people take sannyasa, like so many ISKCON spiritual masters, they have taken sannyasa. Some directly from brahmacharya to sannyasa, some brahmacharya, grihastha, they raised a family, and when the kid was like 17, 18 years old, and the kid was able to take care of himself, they left and went and took sannyasa. So I know one Indridumna Swami, when his son was around 17, 18, he left. There was one Gopal Krishna Goswami. I don't think he had kids, but after a while he told his wife, I am going to the spiritual path. He took care of some financial arrangements for her and then he left like that. Because if you die in your living room, I hope it doesn't happen to you, thinking of your wife and kids, then you'll take birth again, guaranteed. So at the time of death, we should be thinking only of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Right? If you think of Devatas, that's also a danger. You'll go to Swargaloka, Devaloka. In Swargaloka, there are different sectors. There is a Ganesha sector, Durga sector, Vayu sector, Varuna sector. So all the people who love Ganesha will go to Ganesha sector. Who love Durga will go to Durga sector. But Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna. Mamupeti tu Kaunteya Punar Janmana Vidyate. So if after enjoying there for 100,000 years, it is also said in Shastra, for 100,000 years you enjoy there in Swarga, again you are kicked down here to material world. So we are all Swargavasis in our last life or previous lives, but we have been kicked out. So why? Krishna himself says, Kshine Punya Martyalokam Vishanti. Kshine Punya. Kshine means exhausting. Punya means pious activity. Once we finish our pious activity, we are kicked out. Krishna himself says. You actually fall down, head down, and legs up. It is also mentioned in Shastra. And then we come like asteroids. So, yeah, and then we go into earth, and then we go into a rice plant or a wheat plant. It is also said in the Bhagavad Gita. Then the rice or wheat is harvested. The father eats the rice or wheat, and then we go into the sperm of the father, and then the sperm is impregnated into the womb of the mother, and then baby is born. So that's how a Swargavasi becomes a Bhulokavasi. It's all there. It's all there in the scriptures. The process of ascending and the process of descending. So here is a little bit advanced science on how Jnana Shakti works, Kriya Shakti works, Dravya Shakti works. So there is Adi Daiva, means Devata's influence, Adhyatma, self-influence, Atmas, Adi Bhuta, external influences. So with that, we have this mind and senses, right? For the mind, it is Chandra. That's why if somebody goes crazy, we call them lunatics. Lunatics means somebody who is following the moon. So because mind is affected by the moon, like that. So everything happening within time, which consists of past, present, and future, is merely a dream. That is the secret understanding in all Vedic literature. Factually, all of the material existence is only a dream. Everything. The houses we buy, the cars we buy, the work that we do, it appears very real, but it's like a dream because we don't belong to this material world. We belong to the spiritual world. So persons who are addicted to karma kanda vichara, means working for the future happiness through fruitive activities, are also dreaming. Similarly, past happiness and present happiness are merely dreams. So your happiness is a dream, your misery is also a dream. Your past and present happiness is also, or misery is also a dream. The actual reality is Krishna and service to Krishna. More important than Krishna is service to Krishna, because that re-establishes our connection with Krishna or God, which can save us from the clutches of Maya, means illusion. For the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mameva ye prapadyante, mayam etam tarantite. Those who surrender unto me can easily cross over illusory energy. So the Lord's illusory energy is like a Pacific Ocean. So it's very difficult to cross without help. But when you take shelter of the Lord, then that Pacific Ocean will become the size of a small footprint of a calf. Like when it rains and calves walk, they make small footprints in the clay. And then how much water will that footprint hold? Maybe like 1/10 of a liter water. So Pacific Ocean becomes 1/10 of a liter of water. So you can easily cross over it, right? But only if we surrender to Krishna. And if we continue to do our material activities, then we are on your own. That's why they say, right? Ni karma. Ni karma means it is your karma. You are going according to your karma, whatever trajectory it will take you. But if you surrender to Krishna, then we can easily cross over this illusory energy called Maya. These are all like very common concepts in India until about 50 years ago. And then slowly this Western thinking crept in. And like even at my grandfather's time, we used to talk about this on a daily basis. I used to go to the Venkateswara temple in Eluru, and one Pujari used to come and give Srimad Bhagavatam classes there. So when I'm reading all these Prabhupada's books, all that is deja vu coming back to me, right? So for millions of years, people followed this. Only last 100 years, it got destroyed. So we have to reinstate this knowledge. It's not very new knowledge per se. For millions of years, this has been there. That one needs to surrender to Krishna, get out of this dream, and get liberated. So in the concept of liberation, then we can think of Krishna's Leelas. This is Rasa Leela, where Krishna, every gopi thinks that Krishna is dancing with her alone. So he expands himself into trillions and trillions of shapes, so that every living entity thinks that Krishna belongs just to him. So this is a very advanced concept of a Rasa Leela, right? There is a Telugu song also on this. Vrindavanamadi andaridi Govindudu andari vadele. Like that, right? So Govindudu andari vade. And then there is Krishna Mukunda Murari. That song also, right? Then Kasturi Tilakam Lalata Palake Vakshastale Kaustubam Nasakre Navamohikam Karatale Venum Kare Kankanam, etc. Questions? I'm trying to keep it so that Raj can leave at 5.
No, good, Baba.
Yeah, it is good, but what does it mean? What should we be doing?
No, I'll tell you frankly, one thought I just had, I always used to think, See, British came and ruled over us, right? So until then, we were pretty much on our own. We had a lot of treasure, a lot of culture, a lot of all of these Vedic things, right? Religious things. I'm sure there were kings and they were fighting, and some of that was also there. And I always think and joke about if British not come and ruled over us, we would have never been modernized in the sense railways was brought in by British, industrialization was done by British. So now I'm thinking maybe that was not the right thinking. Maybe without that we would have been fine by ourselves. Now,
Yep.
like you said, the past 50 years, everything changed.
Yep.
We no longer pay attention to these things.
Right. If you go do research, right,
Right.
in the 1700s, India and parts of Africa had the leading civilizations.
Right.
India alone had 33% of the world's gross domestic product.
Right.
Did you know that in 1700s?
Yeah, we
India
were
was
very
producing most of the things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then came the gunpowder, then came the the milling machine and weaving machines in Britain. So Britain took over, and then now Britain is down, and America is up because of Teslas and microchips and computers and all that. But actually, just 300 years ago, India was producing 33% of the world's gross national product.
Right.
So it's like that. The British didn't do a favor to anybody.
No, they did. Yeah, we were rich. That's why they came over. But I always used to think, well, at least they introduced some modern things to us. But in a way, now I'm realizing they did. At the same time, they took away the originality, the authenticity, yeah.
Yeah. Like, for example, if you see Vietnamese charm, majority of them are Hindu, even in today in Cambodia, right? In the charm part portion, right? If you go to Bali, Balinese culture, right? So they have worship of Vishnu and Shiva for the longest time. I did a seminar here. You should take a look at this one. I posted it on YouTube. It is called Vaishnava Sanatana Dharma in Cambodia, Bali, Vietnam, and Thailand.
Yeah.
So all of this, that's why it's called Mahabharata. Bharata means that country that looks like a triangle. Mahabharata means including Bali, Burma, Cambodia, Vietnam, and in the east, the whole Gandhar Desh, Iran, all this was considered Mahabharata.
Yeah.
Like if you see, this is the Balinese procession hierarchy, where they have. Who is in the middle? The sage. Yeah. So this is Vyasadev, this is Ravana. In Bali, they are worshipping or they are doing a procession of all these things, recreating what happened 1.7 million years ago. And this is Cambodia. This is called the River of Thousand Lingas. They consider themselves a Hindu place. So they have this 1,000 Shivalingas. Rainy season, Shivalingas are underwater. This is like water flowing very rapidly, Shivalingas. And this is the banyan tree that I showed you previously. Right? It's like basically destroying the building and the roots are making their way down, down, down. So, and here is a picture of Lord Vishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, drawn on the sides of the river. So in rainy season, water covers approximately half of the Vishnu deity, and in summer, you can see him fully like that. So on the Nabi of Vishnu, there is a lotus flower coming, and this is Brahma sitting there. This is the zoom, close-up zoom of Brahma. So all these countries had Vedic culture. Greece had Vedic culture. So many countries had Vedic culture. So now that is shrinking. And now in India also, if you talk too much about religion, they'll think you're crazy. We should talk about science and technology, and we should make more money. That is how people are thinking now. But that was not how it was previously. Yeah, when money is just one portion. For example, if you go to Thailand, their national symbol is Garuda. Garuda is Lord Vishnu's carrier. Right? And then even the concept of Thai Brahmin communities, Brahm Luang and Brahm Chauban. When I went to Bangkok recently, en route to India, Actually, you should all do that. It doesn't cost you anything. You just have to take a break journey for a day in Bangkok. The royal palace, the complete Ramayana is inscribed, and I've not seen a single place in India where it has been maintained so well. Beautiful paintings of Ramayana on Thailand. So the whole world was one actually at one point. It was all Vaishnava, followers of Lord Vishnu, the whole world. But slowly now, even Thailand, lot of Buddhism took over. Cambodia, a lot of Islam. Vietnam, almost totally taken over by Islam and Christianity. So gradually, the Vedic Dharma is, because in Christianity you don't have to do anything, right? You just say I believe in Jesus, everything is taken care of. And Islam, you just say that Allahu Akbar, and if somebody protests, you just chop their head off, and life is easy. But only in the Vedic path you have to work hard. You have to put in a lot of effort. Actually, it's not going to be easy. Only in the Vedic path you have to put in effort to do something. Okay, any other thoughts? That's a good thought, Raj.
So do we have time for chanting, Bavaru, you think?
Yeah, we'll chant now. Okay.